morning. Those that have joined, could you let us know who you are? Good morning. This is Paul Durford,
Department of Finance.
Gail Miller, Department of West Sacramento. Hello.
Campbell, why don't we just go ahead and...
Chris Carlson from Solano RCD. Sorry to talk over you.
That's okay. Let's go ahead and do a roll call, and we'll get everybody that way, and we'll know who we don't have.
Sure.
Campbell?
Ready for roll call?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes, go ahead.
Chair Karen Mitchoff,
Here.
Vice Chair Leo Winternitz,
Here.
Member Brian Cash,
Here.
Member Sandy Matsumoto,
Here.
Supervisor Kathy Miller,
Here.
Supervisor Dawn Natoli, Supervisor Jim Provenza,
Here.
Member Larry Roostaller.
Good morning, Don Tully.
Sorry, was that Dawn I heard?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yes. And Larry. Hey, Larry, good morning.
Member Dolly Sandoval,
Present.
Supervisor Skip Thompson, and Member Gail Miller.
Gail Miller here.
Do we have any ex officio members?
Steve Chappelle, Consumer Resource Conservation District.
Eric Vink, Delta Protection Commission.
Any other liaison advisors? Great, thanks.
Jessica Davenport, State Coastal Conservancy Liaison Advisor.
Thanks, Jessica.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our new world. We did our call to order. We're going to dispense with the Pledge of Allegiance. And what we're going to say is Campbell and Leo and I have had a pre-call. We're going to go through the agenda items, and then I will go through each member and ask individually if they have questions and or comments on that. If there is anyone that, listening in on the public, I understand that the agenda gave information on how to participate as a public commentor, and I'll be asking staff after each item if there is any public comment that we have received prior to the meeting or during the meeting. So with that, I will call. Do we have any public comment, Campbell? Did anybody email in?
Not that I'm aware of, no. But
Okay, and that reminds me, if you could all put yourself on mute until we call upon you, because actually this is a very well-behaved group. I don't hear any background noise, but this is about the fifth one I've done in about the last 2 weeks, and some people. We actually had somebody washing dishes and somebody else drilling with a handheld drill to pound in nails, and it was just amazing to me that they did not realize that would carry. So anyway, with that, everything will be a roll call vote. So the first item is number 4, which is the consent calendar. I'm not going to go through each individual here. Does anybody have any comment on any of these that wishes to be recognized? Hearing none, I'm going to call on Supervisor Natoli to make a motion and Supervisor Miller to second it.
No motion.
Second from Miller.
Thank you. All in. Okay, let's do the roll call vote. Campbell is our secretary. Well, actually, I guess I don't know who our secretary is today.
Lisa's going to do that for us today.
Hi, Elisa. Thank you.
Of course. So I had Supervisor Natoli as the first and Supervisor Miller as the second, correct?
Correct.
Perfect.
Correct.
Okay, ready for the roll call. Chair Mitchoff,
Yes.
Vice Chair Winternitz,
Yes.
Member Cash,
Yes.
Member Matsumoto.
Yes.
Supervisor Miller.
Yes.
Supervisor Natoli.
Aye.
Supervisor Provenza.
Aye.
Member Roostaller.
Aye.
Member Sandoval.
Aye.
Member Miller. Oh, we have two Member Millers. Member Gail Miller.
Aye.
And just want to make sure Supervisor Thompson did not jump on since we started. Okay, motion
And we
carries.
did thank you. And we did just hear somebody enter. Who was that, please?
Steve Mello.
Welcome. Nice to hear from you. All right, thank you. Number 5 is the Executive Officer's Report. Campbell?
All right, thank you. I'm going to start the Executive Officer's report on a somber note. I'd just like to observe a moment of silence in honor of the memory of Brian Keegan. As most of you know, Brian worked with us for 3 years as an environmental scientist. He worked on Proposition 1, on the Proposition 1 program, helping to review and support projects. And he left the Conservancy back in November to complete his master's degree. Sadly, Brian passed away last month at a very young age. We still don't know the exact cause of his death, but we were very, touched by Brian's kindness and caring and his dedication to the Conservancy and his projects even after he left the Conservancy. He remained very close to many of our staff. So I just wanted to take a moment to honor his memory just with a brief moment of silence. So thank you.
Absolutely. And let us add to the agenda, if we can, that we will adjourn in his honor and memory.
Great, thank you. All right, thank you. Rest in peace, Brian. Also on sad but not tragic news, I wanted to let people know that Tomas Jabush, our lead scientist, has left the Conservancy. Tomas accepted a promotion with the Department of Fish and Wildlife to be the statewide leader for the Coaga and Zebra Mussel Control Program. This is a great opportunity for Tomas, but of course, sad for us. Tomas was an excellent scientist and a member of our family who will be missed. So just wanted to share that with you all. We are recruiting to fill both of those positions as well as an Associate Government Program Analyst position. So if you know people who are interested, please send them our way. You can imagine the recruiting is a bit challenging, but we will be doing phone interviews and trying to figure that out. Okay, so now shifting to the program update. You've got the report. I'm just going to touch on some highlights, trying to keep this very short. I'll just skip down to the Community and Economic Development. I want to let people know that the Creek Week 2020 that was scheduled for April 18th has now actually been canceled, unfortunately. Wanted to let people know that they probably have noticed some board packet format changes in general. If you've got any questions, let us know. That's all just to be compliant with ADA accessibility requirements that we are required to comply with now. So you'll notice different things changing, but that's the reason for that. Wanted to mention that the Program Policy Subcommittee meeting on April 15th, we currently don't have anything pressing that would warrant us bringing that group together. So unless something arises in the meeting today that we will want to discuss at the April 15th meeting, we would intend to cancel that meeting. Just wanted to let people know that. I think most of you have put in your Form 700 compliance, and thank you very much for that. If anyone is still outstanding, particularly our new members, please look to do that by April 1st. That's coming up shortly. There were no board directives at the last board meeting, so that brings us to our budget update, but I'll pause there for a second and see if anybody has any questions on anything in the program update. Hearing none, I'm going to ask Brenda Lusk to provide the budget update. Brenda?
Good morning. I'm filling in for our fiscal and board analyst, Jessica Adele. And so agenda item 5, attachment 8 is our budget and expenditure report from July 1st through December 31st. If you look on column F, our percentage of budget expended is pretty much on target for the most part. As you review this, does anyone have any questions that I can answer?
We're a quiet bunch today.
I'm hoping everyone's still there. Okay.
I'm sure they are.
So that brings us to correspondence, and I'm just going to touch lightly on correspondence. We have an unusually large number of correspondence pieces for us, typically. Just very quickly running through, we provided comments on the governor's draft water resilience portfolio. That's the first piece. The second is comments on the Delta Stewardship Council's amendment to Chapter 4, their ecosystem amendment. And then the last three are related to a project that the Delta Conservancy has funded with Proposition 1 funding in East Contra Costa County for the Knightson Wetland Restoration Flood Protection Project. I would just summarize this by saying the first letter is from the Community Services District where they raised concerns. So it sounds like somebody needs to go on mute if possible, please. The first letter is actually a response to those concerns, and ultimately the expectation of creating additional community engagement to ensure that that project is well vetted with the community as the planning for that project moves forward. So happy to answer any questions on any of the correspondence that folks might have. Okay, excellent. With that, that concludes the Executive Officer's Report. Thank you very much.
Okay, and I just moved to my kitchen to wash my bowls, so I moved away from my agenda. Let me get back to it. Just a moment, please. I know we're all multitasking. Let me see what is next, and that is the Proposition 1 program update from Aaron.
Good morning. In keeping with the spirit of brevity, I'm going to keep most of the Proposition 1 update pretty high level this time. Of course, I'm always happy to answer questions about individual projects should anyone be curious about them, but overall I'm going to keep this pretty quick. One item that I do want to bring attention to is staff's current thinking about when to open and run Cycle 5 of the Proposition 1 grant program. We are proposing that we open Cycle 5 in August of 2021. There are a number of reasons for this, but two of the big ones are, one, it lines up well with when the grantees of our current planning projects will be in position to move those planning projects into implementation projects and therefore need funding for those implementation projects. We reached out to many of actually to all of our planning grantees and asked them for time estimates on when they thought we'd be ready to make that move from planning to implementation, and it seemed to line up with the majority of them that an opening of solicitation in August of 2021 for Cycle 5 would accomplish that goal. A second big reason would be we're anticipating that there is a climate resiliency bond going to appear and be voted on in the November election this year. And to allow us to accommodate the result of that election, whatever that might be, if we delayed Cycle 5, or not delayed, but if we ran Cycle 5 after that, we would know how to incorporate, sort of close out the remainder of Cycle 5 with whatever that future bond might hold, if anything. These are recommendations that we were already planning on making before the COVID-19 pandemic, and now, in all honesty, working remotely makes it even that much more challenging were we to try to open a solicitation now. So all those things line up for August 2021. And with that, I'll pause for a moment to see if anyone has any comments or questions on Cycle 5.
Karen, this is Don.
Sure, go ahead.
Just a quick question. I don't have any problem with the calendar outline, but would we know enough relative to availability of any bond funds to actually incorporate that into assuming, again, a number of things, obviously, ballot measure passage and all that, but obviously the amount would be called out for in the measure, obviously, but I presume, but would we know enough to actually be able to disperse funds on that schedule?
I think the expectation would be that if a bond is moving forward, we would put in budget requests later than the typical process, and if approved, that money would show up in our budget in July of 2021. So theoretically, we could potentially, utilize that August solicitation to help start to move those funds. A lot of it would depend on what the bond language is in terms of how readily we can make our guidelines line up and things of that nature.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, Ken. Well, again, it's all based upon what may happen next few months. So I just curious. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think worst case it would just be the following, shortly thereafter that we would finish grant guidelines and then be able to open another solicitation.
Okay, thanks, Ken.
Any other Cycle 5 comments?
I'm sorry, say that again?
I was wondering if there are any other comments on Cycle 5 before we move on.
I think you can move on here.
Okay. All right. Please do.
In terms of Cycle 4, the two outstanding projects where the board made no vote from Cycle 4 and instructed staff to work with the applicants of those projects to further refine their proposals will be handled in following agenda items. So I'm going to gloss over those now and just highlight in the approved projects that from Cycle 4 we've now exceeded 2 of our grant agreements, and the other 6 from Cycle 4 and the 1 remaining grant yet to be executed in Cycle 3 are all moving forward towards their execution through their drafting review process very well. And really all the other projects that we have that are up and running are moving along. There are certainly some hiccups and stumbling blocks here and there as to be expected, but overall the entire program is moving towards accomplishing their goals. One project that I would like to highlight is on page 9 at the bottom, if you're looking at the attachments. The Lower Marsh and Sand Creek Watershed Riparian Restoration Planning Project was a Cycle 1 project and it is just closed, making it the 3rd project to do so. So we're rapidly moving through these programs, these projects, and transitioning into closeout and post-close monitoring eventually. We are in the process right now to assess sort of the needs of this changing reality that we live in. We're reaching out to all of our needs to kind of try to determine what kind of impacts, both short-term and longer-term, COVID-19 may have on all of our projects. And if any sweeping recommendations come from those responses, we will let the board know. But with that, that wraps up my Proposition 1 program update. Any questions or comments?
Hearing none, we will go on to item 7, which is the Prop 68 program update from Robin.
Good morning. I will try to keep this brief as we're all doing. Excuse me. This is the first Prop 68 update to the board since we opened the program in January, and we're excited by the response we've received so far, which it tells us that the outreach we did is paying off, and the response also shows us that there really is a need for funding of these kinds of programs in the Delta. As you can see in the report, at the time the report was written and posted, we had received 5 concept proposals, and we've received 2 more since then. So we've received a total of 7 concept proposals. And of course, that does not include the additional conversations that we've had with project proponents who are interested in submitting concept proposals and will likely do so within the next few months. Of those 7, only 1 was determined to be bond ineligible, so we are currently assessing the others. And in the interest of brevity, I will stop there and respond to any questions.
Karen, this is Dolly. May I ask a question?
Go ahead, Dolly.
Thank you. Hi, Robin. Can you remind me what the process for evaluation is? Are we putting together a light team like we do with Prop 1?
There's two different kind of evaluations that happen. One is after the concept proposal, and one is for the full proposal. Because of the flexibility with which we set up this program, we're able to really work with project proponents during the concept proposal phase. So the evaluation is, once we receive the concept proposal, is an internal staff evaluation to start. And as we move along, most likely we will find the need for expert review of many of the proposals, depending on what kind of proposals they are. I mean, there's such a variety. For example, one of the proposals we've received has to do with renovation of a historic structure. Another one has to do with paving of a bike trail. So those are two very different areas that will require different expertise. So we will certainly have to bring those reviewers into the process. And so there will be some outside review. It won't look quite the same as Prop 1 just because it is such a different program. Does that answer your question?
It does. And it was actually the 1883 schoolhouse that came to mind when I was thinking of this. I'm not sure how the state government views older buildings. I know in schools we have to now bring things up to code to meet the Field Act, and to at least on school sites, so that all schools all students have access to those. So that definitely takes a different type of expert than it would to see if a trail can be compost or otherwise paved over. So thank you for that. Also, with our $12 million that we've been allocated, is there a certain time frame we have to spend that?
I believe we have 5 years. We have not been concerned about that because the chances of us not spending it in 5 years are pretty slim. But yeah, we have 5 years to spend it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Robin. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you. Anyone else? Don, is that you? Did I hear?
Yeah. Yes, Sharon. I just want to express thanks to Robin and Campbell both. I know we've certainly talked with some folks in Fremont County, a couple different types of projects that might be proposed, and I know that Robin and Campbell have both been helpful in providing information about the process and how projects would need to outline what impact it would have economic and enhancement for the Delta communities and so forth. So I just want to thank our folks for being available to folks, and whether those ever come to fruition or not, I don't know, but I appreciate the fact that they're available. It really helps, I think, folks as they're looking at concepts. Thanks.
Thanks, Don. Anyone else?
Yes, Jim Provenza. I just was wondering on the first one that's marked ineligible, what was the reason for the ineligibility?
It was not a bond-eligible project. It was not a capital asset. So it was something that we cannot fund through a general obligation bond.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Robin, for that update. And the additional... Is someone there? Okay. Item number 8 is our Delta Mercury Exposure Reduction Program. We are postponing that. Our next item is the item 9, Delta Conservancy 2019 Implementation Plan Status Update and Consideration of 2020 Implementation Plan. And Deborah, this is yours.
Good morning, everyone. All right, thank you.
So the Conservancy has a strategic plan for the years 2017 to 2022, and the implementation plan is the annual plan for implementing that strategic plan. It lays out specific goals and timelines that the Conservancy has identified for the year in order to further the goals and objectives of the strategic plan. Each January, staff provides an end-of-year status for the prior year and an implementation plan for the board to consider for the current year. Since our January meeting was canceled, we're doing that at this March meeting. So for this agenda item, in addition to the staff report, which provides a general overview, there are two specific documents. There's the 2019 implementation plan end-of-year status spreadsheet, and that is an information-only update on how we did toward the work we laid out for the year of 2019. There is also the 2020 implementation plan, and this is the document that we are asking the board to approve at this meeting, and that maps out our work for this upcoming 2020 year. So the 2019 implementation plan, again, I'm not going to go through the status of each. If there are any questions, I'm happy to address those. A few things I will note is that there was one large bit of work that was absent from the implementation plan, and that is any objective related to accessibility of web content. This was a very significant and unanticipated workload related to making content and documents on our website accessible for those with differing abilities, and it was a mandate from statute. And it was a truckload of work, and I'd just like to take the opportunity to commend Elisa Harrop on our staff for her excellent work to ensure that we met the mandate. That was on a very short timeline, and because it was new, there was a very steep learning curve with a lot of a lack of clarity in a lot of areas that she had to navigate, and so she really stepped up to meet that challenge. So I just would like to recognize her for that. As expected, there are always some timelines that shift, so you'll see that some things indicate that there was a delay, and most of those things have been already or will be completed early this year. Now, a few things indicate that they're inactive, and those are where the goals that we had set out at the beginning of the year, we determined over the course of the year were no longer relevant either at all, just something that really didn't necessitate doing at that time, or just not during that particular year. So with that, I'll just kind of take a pause and see if there are any questions related to the update for last year's implementation plan.
Okay, I said I was going to go down the roll, but we're moving along very well. So are there any questions or comments for Deborah?
Okay.
That means somebody. Okay, well, thank you, Deborah. We appreciate that. Moving on.
So we do have the 2020 implementation plan, and that is.
Oh, I'm so sorry. This is an action item. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, Karen. When I see something in red and I don't pay attention to it, that doesn't do. Okay, now I've got to switch screens. So hold on for a minute, because I wanted to. Well, you know what? I'm going to have a list of. We need a motion, folks. From who would like to move this? Jim, would you like to move this?
Yes, I so move.
And let's see, who would like to second it? Larry Rustaller, would you like to second it?
Larry seconds.
All right. May we have the roll call, please?
Chair Mitchoff.
Yes.
Vice Chair Winternitz.
Yes.
Member Cash.
Yes.
Member Matsumoto.
Yes.
Supervisor Miller.
Yes.
Supervisor Natoli.
Aye.
Supervisor Provenza.
Yes.
Member Rustaller. Member Rustaller.
Sorry,
Larry?
I was answering another question. Go ahead. What do you need?
What's your vote?
An aye vote.
Well, I seconded it, so I guess I better vote aye.
Perfect.
Yes, you should.
Member Sandoval.
Larry?
Yes.
Member Miller.
Aye. Finance. There we go.
And
You
then-
didn't have to call out first name.
Okay. And then really quickly, we had a lot of people join.
Dale Miller, aye.
Perfect. We've had quite a few people join since we introduced. I just want to do a quick check to make sure we don't have any board members, ex officio members, or liaison advisors who have joined that haven't stated their name.
If you fall in that category, please let us know.
Thank you.
So can I make
All
a
right.
few additional comments?
Wait. Of course. Oh, who's this?
This is Deborah.
Go ahead.
So one of the things that we are wrapping up in the 2020 year is our mercury exposure reduction plan. And Kit Sandu has worked diligently during the past 2 years on this project and has done an excellent job. Her position is funded through an interagency agreement with the State Water Quality Control Board, and that agreement ends mid-year. And with that comes the end of Kit's appointment with us. And we have scheduled a project closeout update for the mercury exposure reduction program on the agenda, but due to the circumstances, we had to postpone that. So I'd like to just say thank you to Kit for her hard work and the great results that she has achieved in leading the program. And then I'd also like to recognize the exemplary staff that we have and their hard work and dedication last year and the continued commitment as we enter 2020. They've really demonstrated their resiliency more than ever during the last few weeks as we've made the major shifts in operation, working remotely and all the challenges that brings, but still doing some really great work. I've heard lots of discussion of challenges and how to meet them, but really no complaints. So just wanted to say thank you to our staff as we dive into another year of great work. That's it.
Here, here.
That's it? Okay. All right. Moving on to item 10, which is the consideration of the CEQA exemption findings and grant award for the Mellow Jensen Ayers Sandhill Crane Preserve Project. Back to Aaron, please.
Hello again. So to give a little bit of background on this project was proposed as part of Title
Hey,
4.
Aaron?
Yes.
Can I interrupt?
Yes.
You're really you're very garbled, and I'm wondering if there's any way you can get closer to the microphone, or if you're on a headset, just pick up the phone. That'd be possible.
I'm not on a headset, but yes, I'll try to get a little closer to the phone. Is this any better?
That's much better. Great, thank you.
All right, got it. So, hopefully everyone can still hear me clearly. This project was proposed as part of Cycle 4 of the Proposition 1 grant program, and it was to preserve sandhill crane habitat by placing a conservation easement on 275 acres of farmland. The easement will allow the land to continue to be farmed while ensuring it remains managed to benefit crane populations. Just to give a little bit of the backstory, in May of 2019, the board decided not to vote on this project and instructed staff to work with the applicant to clear up some areas of weakness in their proposal. Those areas focused in two places. One was it was difficult, because of the way the tasks and the budget were put together, it was difficult for staff to determine exactly how the costs would be used and exactly what they would be going to. And the other area was that it was lacking in a demonstration that the project team had the sufficient ornithological and scientific background to really complete the monitoring necessary for this project. In the intervening time, staff has been working with the grantee to shore up these deficiencies, and the grantee has supplied a bunch of information for addressing these weaknesses. They provided information sufficient to evaluate the eligibility and reasonableness of the proposed expenses. However, some small additional information is still necessary, which is reflected in the conditions in the recommendation section of the staff report. These mostly involve fairly small things like clarifications on their indirect costs, some justifications of particular components of the assessment, some audit reports, some relatively small things like that. So those will remain as conditions. With that information, and also they have provided information on their science backgrounds demonstrating the project team does have sufficient ornithological and scientific expertise and have made contact with other experts in the field to pull off the monitoring program for this project. So with those pieces of information, the staff is basically recommending 2 steps to approve this project, should the board decide to. The first step is in response to CEQA. For this project, the Delta Conservancy will act as the lead CEQA agency. Now, since it's a conservation easement, that falls under one of the categorical exemptions of CEQA. However, that still means that as the lead agency, the Delta Conservancy will need to adopt a resolution to make findings confirming that this is a conservation easement, confirming that it falls under one of these categorical exemptions. And so the first motion and vote that would be needed on this project would be to adopt the resolution number 2020-01. If adopted, staff would then submit a notice of exemption to the State Clearinghouse, who would then post it on their website, and that would fulfill our SEQA requirements for this project. Contingent on that, the second motion and second vote required on this project would be to actually approve, with the stated conditions, the grant to the Agricultural Natural Resources Trust, who would be the grantee for this project. So with that, any questions?
Any questions for Aaron? Okay, this is, go ahead. Did I hear somebody?
Aaron, I think the applicant is here as well on the phone, Steve Mello. So I don't know if I was just any comments.
Oh.
If there's any interest by anybody on the line to comment on it, otherwise I'm prepared to.
Well, and I appreciate that. I've been remiss in not asking for public comment on each of these items, but I'm hoping staff would jump in. So, Mr. Mello, did you wish to make any comments?
Well, I'd like to thank the Liz DiGiorgio and the Delta Conservancy staff for their, long-lasting efforts to get this through, and the board members for their consideration of this. And just really appreciate the hard work that everyone's done.
Okay.
Well, this is Liz DiGiorgio from the Agricultural Natural Resources Trust. I'd like to echo Steve's sentiments as well. Thanks so much for Lauren Campbell and Emmett to work with us and get this through.
Okay. With that, are there any more comments or questions? Then I am going to look to Dolly. Would you like to make this motion?
I would. Thank you. So moved.
And great.
And just to clarify, I'm sorry, Chair, just to clarify,
go ahead.
this motion is to adopt the resolution and make the CEQA findings.
That is exactly correct.
Yes. All right. And Member Matsumoto, would you like to second that? I heard a yes. Okay,
yes.
There she is. Thank you. All right, Alyssa, would you do a roll call, please?
Chair Mitchoff.
Yes.
Vice Chair Winternitz.
Yes.
Member Cash.
Yes.
Member Matsumoto.
Yes.
Supervisor Kathy Miller.
Yes.
Supervisor Natoli.
Aye.
Supervisor Provenza.
Yes.
Member Roostaller.
Aye.
Member Sandoval.
Yes.
Member Gail Miller.
Yes.
So the motion carries. And then before we do the second motion, can I just confirm that we have Haley Peterson, alternate to our legal counsel?
Yes, this is Haley on the phone.
Thanks, Haley.
And thank you. And since there's a second action, can I ask the mover and the seconder of the first motion if they would also make the second motion?
Dolly Sandoval will do that. Sandy will also.
Thank you, ladies. Roll call vote again, please.
Chair Mitchoff.
Yes.
Vice Chair Winternitz.
Yes.
Member Cash.
Yes.
Member Matsumoto.
Yes.
Supervisor Kathy Miller.
Yes.
Supervisor Natoli.
Aye.
Supervisor Provenza.
Yes.
Member Roostaller.
Aye.
Member Sandoval.
Yes.
And Member Gail Miller.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, everyone, for your work on this. Which brings us to item 11, which is a consideration of the grant award for the Phase 1 San Joaquin River Floodplain Restoration and Floodway Enhancement at Banta Carbona. And this is Aaron again. Take it away, Aaron.
Yeah, so very similar to the last one. This is a project where that was submitted as part of Cycle 4, but the board decided to not vote on it and to instructed staff to work with them, to work with the grantee on this project. This project would design and permit a multi-benefit habitat restoration project to advance planning and restoration on 30 acres of seasonally inundated floodplain and for improved water supply reliability along the San Joaquin River. The issue identified by internal and external reviewers for this project related to the identification and specification of habitat benefits that would result from this planning project. So since May of 2019, the grantee and staff have been working together, and the grantee has provided a technical memo that addresses the habitat benefits and details how habitat considerations will be incorporated into the project design. And those, along with some other missing elements of the original application that would have been conditions on the project but now have been satisfied, the staff is happy to propose that this project be recommended for funding, or be awarded funding. In this case, to the Banta Carbona Irrigation District will be the grantee. So, any questions?
Any questions for Aaron? So, let me switch back. Who hasn't made a motion yet?
Hey, Karen, this is Campbell. Let's just do public comment really quickly, too.
Oh, yes, thank you so much. Is there any public comment? Anyone on the phone? Have we received any emails for this as public comment?
No, we've not.
All right. Who would like to move this? How about our newest
Gail Miller
member?
moves.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gail. And who
This is
seconded?
Leo, I'll second.
Thank you, Leo. You were my next person to call on. Roll call, please, Alyssa.
Chair Mitchoff.
Yes.
Vice Chair Winternitz.
Yes.
Member Cash.
Yes.
Member Matsumoto.
Yes.
Supervisor Kathy Miller.
Yes.
Supervisor Natoli.
Aye.
Supervisor Provenza.
Yes.
Member Roostaller.
Aye.
Member Sandoval.
Yes.
Member Gail Miller.
Gail Miller, yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 12, which is the consideration of amendment to the budget and scope of work for the wildlife corridors for flood escape on the Yolo Bypass Wildlife Area Project. And Aaron, you're the guy of the hour today.
This time around, it seems that way. So yeah, so this is a recommendation by staff to the board to approve an amendment to this scope of work and budget to this project. So this is a Cycle 1 grant that we awarded that had the goal of creating 5 miles of about 22 acres of floodway-compatible wildlife and pollinator habitat in the Yolo Bypass Wildlife Area, which provides a transit corridor for wildlife to use to escape floods when the bypass is inundated. Over the past couple of fall-winter planting seasons, the grantee has been attempting to plant these corridors. They've had good success with the more woody vegetation, but they have had complications with the more grassland areas of the project. And that is because they've been hit by a very unfortunate combination of droughts, frosts, and floods that have resulted in very low establishment and survival of the native plant species. So they're faced now with a bit of a choice. One option is they can, this fall and winter, try again using the same strategy that has failed twice before. Or they can try something new. They can try, instead of planting in the fall and winter, they can attempt to plant in the spring, summer, which will give those plants many more months to grow and establish themselves and establish root bases that will hopefully allow them to survive the fall and winter that might include droughts, frosts, and or floods. So that is the change to the scope of work, this alternate planting plan of a spring-summer planting instead of waiting until fall-winter. That, however, requires irrigation. Seeds left in the yellow bypass in the middle of summer won't do very well if left to their own devices. And so the budget increase that is being requested is for the rent, establishment, and operation of an irrigation system to be run across the summer. And that is the resulting $143,038 increase to the award amount that is being requested. So, with those, any questions on this amendment?
Any questions for Aaron? Jim, did you have any comments on this one?
I want to ask, is staff reasonably certain that this additional funds will contribute to the success of the project?
Yeah, so this alternate planting plan of a spring-summer planting instead of fall and winter has been reviewed and consulted with by other restoration experts, and everyone agrees, myself included, that this seems like a very wise and move that would greatly increase the likelihood that this project is actually going to work.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Is there any, go ahead,
Sorry,
another question?
This is Sandy. Just to clarify, so the irrigation is only needed for the first season, at which time everything would be sufficiently established to be on its own thereafter. Is that right?
I believe that is the case, yes. Is the grantee on the line? Not sure if they were able to join. But yeah, from my understanding, the hope is that yes, one season of renting this irrigation system to get them through the first summer gets them big enough to survive what will hopefully be natural irrigation in the fall and winter, and maybe even next spring. And that gets them off and running.
Thanks, Aaron.
Oh, thank you. Are there any other questions for Aaron? And was there any public comments sent in or received during the meeting? Doesn't sound like it. So, okay, Jim, I'm assuming you would like to move this?
Yes, I would.
And Don Natoli, will you second it?
Yes, I will, Karen. Can I just ask a quick question? So,
of course.
I support this, but if they're going to install an irrigation system and only use it for 1 year, is there any benefit to, I'd say hand watering, but using truck watering to establish it? I mean, I don't know what the frequency is and so forth, but it seems like it's kind of a throwaway if you're only going to irrigate for the one season and install a system and then basically, shelve that because you won't need it any longer. I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, so I don't know the details of exactly the costs of the different options, but they were weighed out, and this was the sort of most cost-effective route. I do know that the irrigation system is not going to be a permanent install on the landscape. The equipment is going to be rented, and then once finished, the rental company is going to take their equipment back.
Okay, that makes sense. That answers it. Thanks, Aaron. Okay, yes, I second it.
All right, so moved by Provenza, seconded by Natoli. Any further discussion? May we have the roll call, Alyssa?
Chair Mitchoff.
Yes.
Vice Chair Winternitz.
Yes.
Member Cash.
Yes.
Member Matsumoto.
Yes.
Supervisor Kathy Miller.
Yes.
Supervisor Natoli.
Aye.
Supervisor Provenza.
Yes.
Member Roostaller.
Aye.
Member Sandoval,
Yes.
Member Gail Miller,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And go ahead. Hello? Oh, all right. You all have your agendas, so items 13, 14, 15, and 16 have been postponed, and that moves us on to item 17, which is potential agenda items for the May 27th, 2020 board meeting. And I'm looking at that right now. It is a tour of the Bay Point habitat and the nutria eradication program. Hoping we're all together on May 27th. Any comments from members and or the public as to if these are appropriate? It seems they are appropriate. However, are potential other items other than our standard items, Campbell?
This is all we've got right now. Obviously, hopefully we're able to meet in person and we can do it down at the Big Break Center and do a tour. If not, we will. I think we've done quite well today, proving that we can conduct a meeting on a teleconference. So we'll keep everybody posted, but optimistically, if things are cleared up in the end of May timeframe, we would like to meet out in the field and have a nice field tour. So we'll see how that goes.
Get lots more fresh air. All right. Public comment. Do we have any public comment for any item not on today's agenda?
None in writing. Anybody on the phone?
All right. Well, I want to thank staff. I know this is a new way of doing things, and I appreciate the postponement of some of those items. I want to thank my colleagues. I know we're all doing this, and it's a different way of working, but we're getting the public's work done, and that's a great thing. So with all of that, we wish you well. Stay well, and we'll look forward to our next meeting, whether that's in person or again on the phone.
Karen, this is Kathy Miller.
Sure.
I just want to thank staff and yourself for running such an efficient and really good meeting. I know this is difficult and it requires everybody to sort of switch gears a bit, but you all did a really fine job, and I want to thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. You're a good group to chair. It's very easy. And if you want to feel sorry for me, I have 3 more conference meetings today, 2 of which are WebEx, and I still haven't put my makeup on, and I'm determining whether I will or not. So thank you for doing it. I think it benefits all of you more than with that. Everybody, go and stay well. Bye-bye.
Bye there.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.